Are you thinking of getting into Doctor Who, or just need a quick refresher for the last 60 years or so of the show? Let's take a look. Hi everyone, this is Robert. On this channel we cover the best in fantasy and sci-fi books and TV shows. Game of Thrones, The Lord of the Rings, The Witcher, and much more. If you like the sound of that, there's a subscribe button around here somewhere. What is Doctor Who? Doctor Who is the longest running and one of the most iconic science fiction TV shows in the world. It centres around the adventures of the Doctor, an eccentric time and space travelling alien who is usually accompanied by one or more companions as they have adventures across the galaxies. There are obviously some high-level spoilers here for what happens over the years, but nothing for the 14th Doctor onwards. The show started back in 1963 and has had, at the time of recording this, depending on how you count them, 13 lead actors as the Doctor and nearly 900 episodes. I say depending on how you count them because there is a lot of show history here and understandably quite a few lore complications and clarifications along the way. So if you are relatively new to the world, then this video will give you the basics. And if you're a dedicated Whovian, then yes, I know that saying that there have been 13 Doctors doesn't take account of the War Doctor or the Fugitive Doctor or, well, maybe I'll go into all that another time, but that's not what this video is about. Okay, that out of the way, what is it all about? The show was first broadcast on the BBC on the 23rd of November 1963, intended as a family-friendly entertainment and educational show, starring the veteran actor William Hartnell in the lead as the Doctor. The Doctor is a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey. His relationship with his home race, the Gallifreyans, Time Lords, ebbs and flows quite a lot over the years, as we'll see in a moment. But basically, he's a renegade Time Lord, though a good one. He travels through space and time in his TARDIS, which stands for Time and Relative Dimension in Space. It's supposed to change shape and appearance to match its surroundings, but it got stuck looking like a 1960s British police box. It is bigger on the inside than the outside, has a personality of its own, makes an instantly recognisable grating sound whenever materialising or dematerialising, and is basically synonymous with the Doctor. It's also the first real stroke of genius that has enabled the show to survive and stay fresh for so long. Being a time and space machine, and with seemingly endless corridors and rooms inside, it means that each adventure can take place literally anywhere. In the past, future, on Earth, alien planets, deep space, or just in its own pocket dimension. The Doctor has seen the end of the world, met countless historical figures, and visited planets of every shape and size, although it has to be said that he does seem to have a soft spot for modern-day England. Anyway, the second stroke of genius that has allowed the show to carry on as long as it has is regeneration. When William Hartnell, the first Doctor, grew too ill to play the part, they didn't just recast the role. They showed the Doctor regenerating into a new person. It was still the Doctor, the same memories, core beliefs and moral standards, but different, allowing the new actor, Patrick Troughton in that case, to bring their own interpretation to the role. The second Doctor was different, more playful, energetic, but with deep inside perhaps a darker, more manipulative streak that fought for the greater good. In World, we're invited to see this not just as a different actor bringing a new angle to the role, but seeing a different part of the same core character of the Doctor, each adding to the last. The Doctor, therefore, changes into someone new whilst retaining their essential characteristics. We'll come back to that a bit later, because as far as the show is concerned, it allows it to shift and change with the times too. Each generation has their Doctor, and with each new Doctor, the show gets a mini reboot. The TARDIS gets a new look, perhaps we get a new companion. Story arcs close and new ones begin. A perfect place for new viewers to enter. Talking of which, at the time of writing this, the 15th Doctor, played by Ncuti Gatwa, is about to start his tenure, so that's probably as good a place as any to jump in if you are completely new. You won't need to know all the background to enjoy it, just dive in. That said, you can trace a very high-level narrative arc through the decades of Doctor Who, so here goes. When we first meet the Doctor, he is travelling with his granddaughter Susan and has settled on Earth for a while, parking the TARDIS in a junkyard. Two of Susan's teachers grow curious about this girl at their school who seemed to have such first-hand knowledge of science and history, so investigate, getting caught up in the TARDIS and travelling with the Doctor and Susan around the universe, most notably meeting the Daleks for the first time, probably the most iconic of several recurring enemies that face the Doctor. At the end of the second Doctor's run, he is captured by the Time Lords. Remember, he is a renegade Time Lord, and they take a dim view of him interfering in all this history, and they exile him to the Earth. He regenerates into the third Doctor, and the TARDIS is disabled. So the third Doctor's time is spent here, often linking up with UNIT, the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, who pop up every now and then throughout the show's run from then on. The fourth Doctor, played by Tom Baker, is the longest running and one of the most popular incarnations. For many older Whovians, yes, that's what Doctor Who fans are called, he is the first to come to mind when you think of the Doctor with his wide grin, whimsical nature and long scarf. The fifth, sixth and seventh Doctors followed in due course, but with slowly decreasing audiences. Budgets were cut, TV time slots, which were very important back then, were shifted around, and eventually the BBC made the decision to stop making the show in 1989. Still, Doctor Who refused to die. Magazines and fan groups persisted, books and convention appearances remained popular, previously feared lost episodes were uncovered, audiobooks and exhibitions and stage plays appeared. And in 1996, a made-for-TV film featured a new Eighth Doctor, Paul McGann, was made. Fans appreciated Paul McGann's performance, but the movie itself was not a success. It was 2005 when the show was finally brought back properly. The showrunner was Russell T. Davies, who is back as showrunner now, and the new Ninth Doctor was played by Christopher Eccleston. This Doctor was clearly mentally scarred from something that had happened just before we meet him, a time war between the Time Lords and the Daleks, which destroyed both. The Doctor is left thinking that he is the only survivor. He isn't, though that arc will take a long time to play out. His one season is basically him working through his trauma to become the Doctor we all know in a rather fantastic way. The 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant, picked up on this, becoming the lonely Time Lord. He is a fun and engaging and personable Doctor, but you can tell that deep down there is a well of sadness there. That's why we get all those David Tennant staring sadly into the middle distance memes. Matt Smith's 11th Doctor is perhaps more childlike in his approach, but still has that dark undertone. It is at the end of his time that we discover that Gallifrey and the Time Lords are still there, but hidden. The 12th Doctor, played by Peter Capaldi, sets out to find them, and by the time of the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, we discover that all the Doctor believed about their origin may not have been true. That was quite a controversial revelation within the fandom, so we'll have to see where the show takes that under the new ownership. All of these Doctors had companions, usually human and quite often young women, who travel with them on their adventures. With a couple of exceptions, it's worth noting that these are very much platonic relationships, and the Doctor sometimes acknowledges that he travels with a companion not just for the company, but because he needs it to keep him grounded. The Doctor has lived many lives and experienced much. It is often the companion that reminds him to care, and the Doctor wants to care. He wants to make things better. It's why he uses the name the Doctor. He dearly wants to help and to heal. As well as the TARDIS, the Doctor also carries around some tools to make things easier on his travels. Most importantly here is the sonic screwdriver, which he uses to open doors, repair things and scan them. The TARDIS has a translation circuit that allows the Doctor and his companions to understand and speak other languages, and psychic paper can also be useful, showing whatever credentials the reader needs to see to justify the Doctor's presence. One thing he almost never carries, though, is a gun. Most incarnations of the Doctor abhor violence. The Doctor's first, second and third solutions to a problem will almost always be clever ways to avoid violence. Occasionally, we do see the Doctor embrace violence when he is pushed so far that he has no other options, and the darkness that is there is a reminder of what the Doctor could have been with his power. But don't expect to see him charging towards the baddies with the gun, because that won't happen. Running away from them while they shoot at him all the time, but not the other way around. These baddies do vary quite a lot, but some opponents to the Doctor recur more than others. We all know the Daleks, merciless xenophobic mutants encased in that iconic design. There are also the Cybermen, cyborgs who convert or upgrade humans against their will, and the Master, another renegade Time Lord, though yin to the Doctor's yang, intent on causing harm and chaos. Like the Doctor, the Master regenerates, so when a new Master is introduced, we often don't know that that's who they are. And more recently, the Weeping Angels have appeared a few times, statues who move when you aren't looking at them. and if they touch you, they drain your time energy from you, throwing you back in time. These monsters can be a bit frightening for smaller children in a hide-behind-the-sofa way, but Doctor Who has remained family-friendly throughout the years. There's a comfort in knowing that however scary the baddies are, the Doctor will prevail. Doctor Who can veer from very silly humour to genuinely moving and heartwarming or scary in moments. It is unashamedly British, and Whovians are unashamedly proud of the show, talking lovingly of their Doctor, sticking with it through the bad episodes and seasons, and yes, over 60 years there have been plenty of them. The classic Who from its first run had a low budget and it sometimes showed. The Doctor self-deprecatorily refers to himself as just a madman in a blue box, and fans talk about it being just a silly space show. But there is undoubted affection there. Beneath the fun adventures, there is something about Doctor Who that means things to people. And there is an endless amount of Doctor Who content out there. The old Doctors never really go away, appearing occasionally in TV specials, recording Doctor Who audiobooks, appearing in graphic novels, and much more. The same goes for much-loved companions. Spin-off shows like Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures have been very successful, and we can probably expect to see a few more in the coming years. The Guinness Book of Records acknowledges Doctor Who as not only the longest-running sci-fi TV show in the world, but also the most successful, based on broadcast ratings, DVD and book sales, iTunes downloads, and so on. But what makes it successful? At its heart, it is the character of the Doctor. This is what Stephen Moffat, showrunner for several years on the show, had to say about him that I think sums up a lot of the appeal. It is hard to talk about the importance of an imaginary hero, but heroes are important. Heroes tell us something about ourselves. History books tell us who we used to be. Documentaries tell us who we are now. But heroes tell us who we want to be. A lot of our heroes depress me, but when they made this particular hero, they didn't give him a gun, they gave him a screwdriver to fix things. They didn't give him a tank or a warship or an X-Wing fighter, they gave him a phone box from which you can call for help. And they didn't give him a superpower or pointy ears or a heat ray, they gave him an extra heart. They gave him 2 hearts, and that is an extraordinary thing. There will never come a time when we don't need a hero like the Doctor. I love that, and for me, that sums up the beauty of the show. The Doctor is the kind of hero that we need. There is a wide-eyed wonder and delight at the universe to be explored, a sense of right and wrong, and a desire to make things better. And above all, you know that travelling with the Doctor would be fun. You don't need to know 60 years of history to get into Doctor Who, but many have found that when you do get into it, there's no going back. If you'd like to see more introductory videos to other TV shows and books, please check out the playlist appearing now on the left of your screen. Or to support this channel, the best way to do that is via Patreon, the link on the right of your screen. That's all for this time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.